Welcome to the Top Step, presented by Warrior Injury Law. If you're injured, contact attorney Rob Edens at 253-WARRIOR, battle tested. How's it going, mates? It's Ryan Rowland-Smith. Welcome to the Top Step. We have got a great episode this week. The Mariners are making that final push. What will it take? We're going to break it all down. Ryan Divish from Seattle Times, he's joining me later on in the show to give me his take. But before we get into all of it, if you're new to the show, and this is going to be your new Mariners Weekly show, make sure you head over to YouTube where you can catch all your favorite past and present Mariners, all my breakdowns, all the laughs, all the stories, How to Speak Australian. It is all over at YouTube. So go click the subscribe button at the Top Step TV and join the fun. Or you can listen to us on the go wherever you get your podcast. Just type in the Top Step with Ryan Rowland-Smith. We will pop up. Okay, so how many wins will it take for the Mariners to win the AL West? That's what we're going to dive into as we get into the month of September. And let's break it all down on this week's edition of Eyes on the M's, brought to you by King LASIK. Hey, mates, if you're ready for freedom from hassling with glasses and contacts, do what I did. Go to King LASIK. Best decision I ever made for my eyes. The procedure was easy. It was over in under 15 minutes. Start with a free Zoom consult at kinglasik.com. We are officially in the final month of the regular season. The Mariners are still chasing down the Houston Astros in the AL West. And that race is going to define whether or not they can control their own destiny heading into October. So what will it take? Let's dive into what is it going to take if the Houston Astros play 500 baseball the rest of the way. So the reason I'm saying the Houston Astros are going to play 500 is because the last couple of months since July 1st, they have been just underneath 500. They got Yordan Alvarez. If they bust out, they bust out. But look, the Mariners have some work to do. Is it doable? Yes. Is it going to be easy? Of course not. Like every year, every time we get to September is always an uphill battle for this team. But as I sit here today, the Mariners have wrapped up the first leg of their road trip. Now the team they're chasing, the Astros, like I said, they've been just under since July 1st, that 500 mark. The only reason Houston's even in this position is because of that crazy month they had in the month of June. I don't know how they did it. They went 19-7, and that gave them that cushion. You don't see that. I don't see that happening again. Okay, even with Yordan Alvarez, I just don't see it. If they do go on a run in September, that's completely out of your control anyway. So let's assume they continue this trend, being slightly below average. That leaves the Mariners with one clear mission. They need to win every series from here on out. That's right. They literally have to win every series. There is the 1 4-game series against the Angels. They can split that. But besides that, they're going to go 2-3. With everyone else if the Astros continue to play 500 baseball. So that's some tough sledding, but that's kind of their path now. So let's break it down on how they get there. First of all, let's kick off with the offense. The Mariners need to break through in run production outside of the long ball, right? I love home runs, right? But nearly 50% of their runs this year have come off of the home runs. They rely on that factor so heavily. Now, that's fine when you're punishing mistakes, but against top-end starting pitching, you've got to create some traffic. And here's the problem. In August, the Mariners ranked third to last in MLB with runners in scoring position, hitting well below 240 in those spots. And it's not just that they didn't deliver when they had traffic on. They didn't have the opportunities to begin with. Seattle had the third fewest runners in scoring position across the entire league in the month of August. That has to change. After the trade deadline, this lineup was supposed to be deeper, more balanced, more aggressive, and on the bases. But the only way that works is if you're getting on base in the first place. The Mariners need base runners, plain and simple, because this lineup, man, when you have traffic and you are creating havoc, good things are going to happen. They need opportunities on the bases in the month of September. All right, let's transition to the pitching. Now, I sound like a broken record, right? I look at this team and baseball through a pitcher's lens. That's just the way it goes. When I'm in the broadcast booth and what have you, right? That's what I did. I was a pitcher. This team will live and die on their starting pitching. As of today, the Mariners staff sits 20th in ERA in the month of August. We've seen the rotation look dominant in stretches. And by the way, all the projected starters for 2015, look, they're all healthy. It's a great sign. Bryce Miller looked really good in Cleveland as well. But it's been inconsistent. And when your starters are inconsistent, when those outings are short, it exposes the bullpen. All right. So the bullpen, the month of August, Seattle's bullpen finished with the 8th worst ERA in baseball. Now, the caveat is this. If you hand them a lead, they've been one of the best staffs, best bullpens in baseball. Only a handful of blown saves. Less than 5, in fact. That's top 5 in baseball. So basically, if you can get to the 7th, you get a little bit of offense early, and your starting pitchers can get deep, guess what? Your bullpen's going to be dominant. But the problem is they're consistently asked to cover 4+ innings, right? And it's been inconsistent. So that's when things start to unravel, just because there's a little bit of a depth issue. And we'll get more of that as we get into the playoffs as well in regards to how Dan Wilson deploys this bullpen with some of the depth issues that we're talking about. So the equation is clear. Length from the starters, protect the bullpen, and then let that relief crew do what it does best, and that can close the door. So the big picture, the Mariners are not out of this when you're talking AL West, right? They've got the lineup. They've got 6 All-Stars on this roster. They've got one of the most historic offensive seasons ever by a catcher in Cal Raleigh. The potential, and he, by the way, potential AL MVP. Are you kidding me? By the way, if you haven't checked out the show, go check it out last week. He was great. He sat down with us. And they've shown flashes of being one of the most dangerous teams in baseball. And this is their window with all that going on. But if they want to raise the AL West banner, if they want to take this thing instead of scoreboard watching Houston, it's going to take execution. The offense has to get runners on and early. The rotation has to be a little deeper and a little bit more stabilized, and then the bullpen can do its thing. It's going to be a fun month. I know that. All right, that's Eyes on the M's brought to you by King LASIK. Joining me after the break, it's Seattle Times beat writer Ryan Divish. I can't wait to get his take on this team, what they need to do in September, and whether this chase for the AL West is still within reach. Keep it right here on the Top Step.
Wellness. How do you practice it easily every day? At Olympic Hot Tub, we have more ways to achieve total wellness at home than ever before. Immerse yourself and let jets melt stress away in a saltwater hot spring spa. Swim in the privacy of your own backyard in an endless pool swim spa. Retreat to cozy warmth and detox in an amazing Tilo sauna. Then awaken your mind and body with a cold plunge. You'll be saying, ah, in no time. Your path to wellness starts today at Olympic Hot Tub. Better you, better life.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. We help all types of injury victims, like Ann, who broke her leg in a trip and fall accident.
I had broken my femur and I was in horrific pain. We chose Warrior because they had a good reputation. I wasn't just a name, I was a person, and that makes a big difference. I'm just grateful that we had the settlement for my care. I'm very pleased.
If you've been injured, call us at 253-WARRIOR. Warrior Injury Law. Battle tested.
See life better with perfect, clear, natural vision from King LASIK.
Being a former professional athlete, I still love staying active. From paddleboarding, snowboarding, even playing with the kids, everything was such a hassle dealing with glasses and contacts. I'm so grateful to Dr. King and King LASIK. It's amazing how much better I see life.
I'm Dr. Joseph King. Let's free your eyes from the hassle of glasses and dirty contacts.
Schedule your free consult at kinglasik.com. King LASIK. See life better.
Welcome back to the Top Step. Ryan Divish is about to join me in just a second, but it is now time for the Cal Raleigh Home Run Tracker, brought to you by Bob Oates Plumbing and Sewer. Big dumper approved. Bob Oates is here for you. Cal hit his historic 50th home run a couple games back, and now the next milestone, it's Mickey Mantle for the most ever by a switch hitter. Are you kidding me? As I read this, he's just 4 away from tying and 5 from being the all-time, when you're talking switch hitters, not for catchers, but for switch hitters. That is unbelievable in history. We had Cal on the show, spoke to him. We got a chance to speak to him on the day he broke the all-time record for catchers, Major League record. And I asked him, what is it like to have all-time next to your name when it comes to MLB history? So go back and check out his answer. We had plenty of fun with Cal. Big thanks to the Big Dumper for joining the show. Go to YouTube. It's over there. It's a great show. We talk about his beer and everything else. I stayed away from the, hey, should you be the MVP question, by the way. I'm not asking that. He's not going to give me an honest answer. All right. Okay. We'll get to that more later in September. Matter of fact, I might even ask him then. All right. So that was the Cal Raleigh Home Run Tracker, brought to you by Bob Oates Plumbing and Sewer. Big Dumper approved. Bob Oates is here for you. Now, before we say hello to Ryan Divish, speaking of Cal, we had a chance to sample his new Big Dumper beer. And it's a lager. That's my favorite. It's really good. It's a collaboration between Scuttlebutt Brewing and Cal Raleigh himself. Again, last episode, we're at Scuttlebutt Brewing. We had a blast. Brad Adam was there as well. It's available at Scuttlebutt locations and retailers near you. All right, let's welcome in my guest for this week, Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times. Ryan, you've had a interesting perspective on this team because you haven't been following them all year like you have over the years. You came early August after that trade deadline. What's your take on the 2025 Mariners?
Yeah, it's interesting. I covered like all of spring training, and I did the first week of the season. I think the first homestand, and I took a 4-month sabbatical essentially, and watched. I watched all the games. I think almost every game, on TV back in Montana, and then I came back in and jumped back in. It's a lot different, and it's like the team that I started covering at the beginning of the season is so different now. I mean, you look at the daily lineup and how much it's better than it was when the season started, and I think that's the biggest thing. And like right now, the rotation is back to normal. I don't know that it's ever been completely healthy at any point in this season. Mm-hmm. So I come back, and you come back in to it, and you see a team that's on paper better than it's been in quite a while. Now, that hasn't always resulted in wins, but I do think that like this is one of the better teams in terms of overall talent that I've covered, and I've been covering the Mariners since 2006.
August 4th, right? So you were after the deadline, so you weren't in the weeds in regards to what was going to happen. But were you kind of surprised the Mariners went that hard in not so much the moves, but the fact it was like straight rentals in Naylor and Gino Suarez? Because we haven't seen just pure rentals really for a long time, right?
No, they haven't. They've kind of shied away from it. I think, Jimmy Garcia last year was a rental, and I think, technically Justin Turner was a rental, but they're addressing like serious needs that, in past years they weren't doing that, and they weren't giving up prospects to rentals. But I think looking at the team and the needs of the team, and then also looking at where the market was at in terms of what players were available, Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez were the best fits. Now they were rentals, but that also meant you probably didn't have to give up your top prospects. And given the Mariners farm system, the depth they have, they could kind of do that. And so I'm not surprised that they went rentals, but I'm surprised that they were able to get both of them. Like very rarely does fans or the media look at a situation and say, "Oh, this is the best fit for the Mariners," and it happens. Like you knew like right away they needed help at first base, they needed help at third base. Here's two guys that are established players, and one that the Mariners were very familiar with. Yeah. And all of a sudden, they somehow managed to make that trade. I mean, the odds of that happening seem sort of impossible. But once the Yankees traded for Ryan McMahon from the Rockies, then it became a lot more feasible that they were going to be able to get both.
Welcome back to The Top Step. This segment is brought to you by Olympic Hot Tub. So we finally got our Envoy Saltwater Spa hooked up here at the house, and oh man, it is a game changer. I love it. We love it. The whole family loves it. You couldn't get me out of there. You should have seen me. So many features. Even has little Bluetooth speakers that pop up. Waterproof, of course. My kids have all assigned seats, by the way, apparently. No, I didn't assign them. They assigned it. But Dad still gets the lounge seat. I'm telling you right now. But massive thanks to Olympic Hot Tub, helping me feel, live, and be better. Go to olympichottub.com, or honestly, go talk to their staff in person. That's what I did at any of their 8 locations. olympichottub.com. Going back to the fact that they went this hard in regards to the rental players, you've had fans beating on their drums, for a couple of years, offense. You got a situation where Cal Raleigh's having a historic year. But what is it, do you think, that this front office said, no, like now, man, like now or never? Because like you've said it, right? Like the fact that they've been really aggressive at the deadline. You mentioned Jimmy Garcia last year. But to me, I just feel like something has set them off that says, no, this window is very small. It's now. Like, what do you think it was?
Well, I think part of it is you missed the postseason by a game each of the last 2 years. I mean, right. That sticks with you a little bit. And really, they didn't do anything in the offseason. The fits that they were looking for in terms of free agents or trades never really materialized. I mean, the signing of Jorge Polanco was pretty late in the offseason. So, when they go through that, they hadn't really burned all their resources in the offseason. So you have, you have extra resources that you thought you maybe wouldn't have at the trade deadline, and you are having this historic season from Cal Raleigh. You look at the AL West and the landscape and the American League in general. There is no like dominant team in the American League. So I think, you look at where you were at overall in the landscape of the league, and you say, okay, we can do this. Because I think everybody believes that the Mariners are a dangerous team if they get in the postseason, but the hardest part for them has been getting to the postseason. You miss it by a year each of the previous 2 seasons. That's tough. So I thought the needs were recognizable. It wasn't going to be a huge prospect cost. It wasn't really a huge financial cost. So I think it all kind of was right there, and they were able to capitalize. They recognized that they needed to make these adjustments. And also, I do think like the team played above expectations given the amount of injuries to the rotation. Like if you'd have told me that they were going to be where they're at the trade deadline with George Kirby missing 6 weeks, Logan Gilbert missing 6 weeks, and Bryce Miller missing most of the season, I would have said not a chance. But they were able to kind of withstand those injuries and play well enough to be in a position to matter at that deadline, and they capitalized on it.
See life better with perfect, clear, natural vision from King LASIK.
Being a former professional athlete, I still love staying active. From paddleboarding, snowboarding, even playing with the kids, everything was such a hassle dealing with glasses and contacts. I'm so grateful to Dr. King and King LASIK. It's amazing how much better I see life.
I'm Dr. Joseph King. Let's free your eyes from the hassle of glasses and dirty contacts.
Schedule your free consult at KingLASIK.com. King LASIK. See life better.
What do you do when you're
Oh boy, The Big Dumper is my favorite. I love this show.
Sylvester, you're in this show. It's coming soon.
Oh, that's right, Poopy. But if I'm here and the show's coming soon, am I in the future?
Bob Oates is here for you.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. We help all types of injury victims, like Ed, who suffered a neck injury in a highway pileup.
Had a bulge disc in my neck. It was pinching my spinal cord, so reached out to Rob. It was amazing. Their whole team were honest and kept me informed, like they were actually interested in helping me, not just a number. I'm very pleased with the outcome. I would definitely choose these guys any time of the week.
If you've been injured, call us at 253-WARRIOR. Warrior Injury Law. Battle tested.
Wellness. How do you practice it easily every day? At Olympic Hot Tub, we have more ways to achieve total wellness at home than ever before. Immerse yourself and let jets melt stress away in a saltwater hot spring spa. Swim in the privacy of your own backyard in an endless pool swim spa. Retreat to cozy warmth and detox in an amazing Tilo sauna. Then awaken your mind and body with a cold plunge. You'll be saying, ah, in no time. Your path to wellness starts today at Olympic Hot Tub. Better you, better life.
Welcome back to The Top Step. This segment is brought to you by Core Contractors, the Center of Remodeling and Restoration. What do you do with this lineup when Robles comes back? Do you see him going back to the top of the lineup? Would you shuffle it around? I get it, guys. Like, for example, Randy Rosarino was hitting behind Cal, and he was starting to really heat up. Put him at the top of the lineup, and it's been a little bit of hit or miss with him at the top of the lineup. But that shuffles everyone around. Do you bring Robles back, put him at the top of the lineup, or what do you do with this lineup right now into September?
I think they'll probably keep him down in the lineup a little bit to start, and maybe once he gains some traction, if he really starts to go, then they can maneuver it around.
Right.
I mean, the one thing is like hitting Robles lower in the lineup does split up the lefties at times. Like if you have Cole Young and JP in the lineup, you're not batting them in a row. Right. And that makes it a little more difficult. It'll be curious to see how they do that. I mean, we saw a little bit of what they were going to do with Robles when he came back, but I think, if he really gets going and he really starts to be that guy that's on base a lot and finds ways to get on base a lot, then you can't really ignore the idea of moving him up. It does seem like that would be more logical. I have a lot of old school people that are so mad about Cal batting second, but like Julio's really flourished in the role he's had, where he's at in the lineup too. So, it is a good problem to have that you have a good hitter that you can probably put up there and maneuver guys. Because before I used to say that the Mariners lineup was like stacking pancakes. They're all the same. They all taste the same. It's all pancakes, because it was a lot of the same kinds of hitters. But these guys are a lot better now. It's a more diverse lineup look in terms of what guys can do at the plate. So yeah, they have to be creative. It's really weird because Dan is new, and we don't have a lot to gain from or to go from, because he's this is essentially his first full year. Whereas with Scott, we kind of knew what he was going to do a lot of times before it would happen because he had been there so long, and you knew kind of how he operated, and he was very open about how his process worked and how he wanted to do things. And Dan is not as open. He's a little more closed off, and he doesn't always share his process. But I could see them, adjusting with Victor, because I just think the amount of havoc he creates on the bases is a good thing. But I guess some people would say, having a couple decent hitters at the bottom of the order would still give Randy some opportunities with runners in scoring position. He's been great. Randy's been great. 26 homers, I think. 26. Yeah. I mean, man. Where would they be without him? They needed him a lot. And, last year it didn't always look great when he came over, but I think he really has kind of embraced his situation, and he's been ultra valuable for them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. With Randy, I was worried, okay, moving to the West Coast, even more further away from home, and is he going to be comfortable? He talked about that a little bit in spring training. But you mentioned Julio. I got some numbers here, first half and second half, right? So we're so used to seeing him just go off in the second half. So first half, obviously, some of the batting average, you've got 260, 299 in the second half. On-base percentage goes up to 350 from 320. Slugging goes to 550 over 418 in the first half. OPS 900 in the second half, 737 in the first half, so on and so forth. WRC plus goes over 150 in the second half. Okay, when you look at Julio, are you looking at him saying, well, this is just who he is. He's just a second half player, and I'm okay with that? Or how can we get this kind of production when you're talking 150 WRC plus in the second half? How do we get that for a longer stint and make it happen early? How do you view Julio in regards to some of the splits here, first half and second half?
Well, I mean, I think, was he 23 years old? I don't think he's defined by anything yet. I mean, I think people have to realize how young and inexperienced he was when he debuted. And, he is so far from a finished product. And I think you look at what he is now in these last few months, I think it's a continuation of growth. And talking with Jerry DiPoto and with Edgar Martinez and some of the other guys and some scouts, opposing scouts, it was, Julio has been a guy that has made some major changes to his swing, to his setup, to all these things over the last few years, trying to adjust to what teams are adjusting to. But it's also adjusting his approach. And, if you remember early in the first half of the year, it just seemed like he was swinging at every first pitch, no matter what. You could have rolled it up there and he was going to take a swing at it. Well, then, slowly he started to work away from that. He still takes a pretty aggressive hack on first swings, but, and I do think he was ultra conscious about the strikeouts and almost kind of selling out to make contact, even if it was weak contact, so he'd avoid the strikeouts. Well, that's changed too. I think all these things, it's a growth. He's still developing his identity as a hitter, because he's had a lot of voices over his young career telling him what he needs to be and what he needs to do. Right. And I think he's starting to stick with kind of the idea of, Nelson Cruz always used to say, home runs happen. I don't try and hit them, they just happen. If I hit the ball hard, they happen. And I think he's starting to kind of come to that. And I do think there have been times where he's been more competitive with two strikes than he hasn't been in the past. We're not usually going to get power swings on that, but the two-strike approach now is still a good ace swing and not a defensive passive swing with two strikes. So I still think there's a lot of room for growth. And it may come down to also changing up his off-season hitting plan or how he does his off-season work. One thing is once you have the approach that you really feel comfortable with and what you think makes you successful, then you aren't tinkering as much in the off-season and you're not trying new things in spring training, and it's even like Logan Gilbert on the pitching side says, I have my pitches now. I don't have to, I'll experiment, but I know what makes me good. So that's what I work on instead of, searching for something. I think when Julio gets to the point, I think he's nearing that, where he has the idea of who he is as a hitter and how he has success with it, then, all the preparation stuff that he does, which is a lot, will be more refined to whatever that success point is.
Yeah, you make it straight out of the gates. You drop his age. You're like, oh, that's right. Whoops. You feel like he's 26, 27. Because there's been like...
I think he's 24, 23, 24. He debuted at 21.
Yeah.
Cole Young, 21. These guys are kids.
Yeah, you're right.
It used to be a hitter would amass 1,500 plate appearances in the minor leagues before, usually the rule was 500 to 1,000 plate appearances at AA and AAA before he even thought of being in the big leagues. Well, those guys are so accelerated now, and it's so much harder to hit at the MLB level. But I think, when you're that young, a lot of different voices creep in with a lot of different agendas. Sure. And I think Julio, at times to his fault, listened to some of those and, got away from who he was as a hitter. We talked about it last year that he just didn't look athletic in the batter's box. Well, I think, you watch him now, he's not falling all over. He looks more athletic. I think he's on the right path to where he wants to be as a hitter. So, you just build off of that instead of having to start over.
Well, Ryan, this has been great, man. I appreciate it. I am going to, at some point, hit you up again later on this year, jump on, see where we're at, especially in the off-season too. But safe travels. I appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the time we have for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you go to YouTube at the Top Step TV and go click the subscribe button. All my breakdowns, all the funny stories, good laughs, your favorite Mariners past and present are all over there. Or go follow us on social media at the Top Step TV. It's going to be a fun month. I know this team is going to get to the postseason. I can't wait. We will see you next week right here on the Top Step.